Okay, well, it is right at 2 p.m. Eastern, so we're going to get started. First of all, thank everyone within the sound of my voice. I know many are going to come on to the event live today. Many are going to be listening to this more as a podcast style a little bit later on. But just want to say to everyone, thank you so much for dedicating a little bit of time to this message. My name is Charlie Barnett. I lead a lot of our go-to-market work and business development and new vendors we're bringing into our cloud practice within Synex. And so everyone that's been invited today is either on the Synex side that really deals a lot in our federal space in this case for cloud, but as well as some key partners that have been invited here for that reason as well. They're working in the federal space to some degree or looking to get more in there into the federal space. And then that cloud strategy, cloud practice, cloud storage is something where you're either excelling or you're wanting to excel or wanting to diversify. I will tell you from the Synex side, it should be apparent by nature of this presentation today that we have worked to diversify our own cloud strategy in terms of what we're bringing to market to our partners. So having said that, we're very excited about the ORock relationship. We've just been working together closely for a few months, but really seeing a lot of, it definitely raises the right eyebrows when people hear the message of ORock. There's a lot out there among cloud providers, from hyperscalers to everything else, but ORock really stands alone in a lot of different ways. And that is why we, from our end, have been so excited to bring it to so many partners, working with our profound GovSolve team. And one of those representatives is going to speak today with Jamie, Michelle Chapin, Jason Weathers, many of those team members helping to drive this message to our federal partners that we know are so focused on the space. And again, the regulations and what it takes to be successful, to be a vendor that can scale in the space and to be a partner that can grow. It's a different kind of challenge in an enterprise opportunity or enterprise offering. So today's focus is around that. ORock is a diverse cloud that can be utilized and taken advantage of for a variety of uses, from enterprise to federal to SLED to any other vertical. But today's focus is really going to be around the federal message. So having said that, Eric is going to be leading us through this in just a moment. I want to say a couple of things from a housekeeping perspective. There is a chat feature here. If you have questions, comments, please feel free to drop those in. Obviously, the bigger win is when we have some one-on-one conversations post-message. But if there's anything for the good of the group or any kind of burning question you need answered now, please drop it in the chat. Otherwise, there will be some very granular follow-up coming, likely tomorrow, from the ORock team. We'll send a recording out of this because, again, many have wanted to kind of consume this a little bit later, maybe next week, again, almost podcast style. But there'll be follow-up coming to everyone that has registered with some documentation, some support, how we can go further together, because this is an awareness message today, but the goal is to get deeper together. How can we go to market together? ORock's been absolutely phenomenal with the partnerships we're forming already with other Synex partners, and just enhancing those, taking those further, and obviously always looking for new partnerships. So really excited about the event today, the time today. Thank you again to everyone that's taken a few minutes to learn about this and how it can expand and grow your practice. So having said that, Eric, I am going to pass it to you now and sit back and learn.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. So Eric Van Arsdal, I'm the VP of Federal Sales at ORock Technologies. Really excited to be here. Really appreciate everyone's time for either listening and watching right now or looking at the podcast later on. We believe we have a great message to tell, and really looking for those partners to go to market with. With what I have up on the screen, please, as we go through this, think about why people either have not adopted cloud in the federal space, why people have not expanded their cloud practice, etc. So you'll hear a pretty standard thing from me, which is all about security in the federal space. It's about cost optimization and the governance and compliance. So I'm glad 451 did the research on this, and I threw this up here on the screen. A little bit about my background. I came to ORock about 1.5 years ago. Previously, I was the Navy cyber engineering lead for APL, specifically focusing on Navy air missile defense systems, designing cybersecurity, both offensive and defensive for them. And how do you get to a cloud company? I was actually designing virtualization for them and I'm on a bunch of major systems. And previously, I was a government civilian running cyber efforts for the DDG program, or the Navy Destroyer program. So really deep background in the security side, and look forward to talking to anyone that wants to reach out and dive a little deeper into the security after this, or the ORock offerings after this. I'm going to move over to Brent if you want to take the next slide and introduce yourself as well, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, hey folks, my name is Brent Odom. If we haven't met, I'm on our GovSoft team. So my role is I'm our government affairs and public policy manager. So most of my day is spent researching, analyzing, legislation, policy, the funding. So they've asked me to come on and talk about the federal funding in one slide. I thought to myself, how am I going to do that? But just tried to bullet down with a few high-level points today before ORock jumps in with their solution. So if you take a look at the slide, I've broken it down into 3 areas at the federal government where funding is really coming from right now. So I think the first area to really think about and dig into is the American Rescue Plan. If you're not familiar, well, you probably should be familiar, because this is the 3rd package, the most recent package that had stimulus checks, individual stimulus checks that went out, but also included in that was relief funding for all levels of the government, state and local, education, but there were also some federal funds. And so you can look at kind of the cheat sheet chart I have up there and see a couple of the agencies and funds that received some dollars from this package. Really, I'll talk about the Technology Modernization Fund in just a minute. The Veterans Affairs, that is one agency to really be focused on moving forward if you're focused on the federal government and selling into federal agencies. Lots of funding and modernization, even proposed funding going into the VA. As you can see, I've listed a website there that you can go to when they send these slides out, and do just a little overview reading on what they received from this package. But there's a lot of proposed funding out there for the VA. I did want to highlight the Technology Modernization Fund. If you are not familiar with that and you work in the federal government, or sell into the federal government and federal agencies, you should be. This was started back in 2017 by law. It's a law that established this fund, a bill. What it does is it awards additional funding to agencies to accelerate their technology transformation. I've listed a site that you can go to there and read about the 11 projects that have been awarded. Actually, that should be since 2017, not 19. 11 projects since 17. But anyway, the federal agencies have to apply to the Technology Modernization Fund. It's run by a board of directors, and then the board of directors are the ones who, run this fund and make the decisions, and then the agencies receive funding for specific projects, technology modernization projects. So that is a really big one right now. There's a lot of cloud migration, adoption projects taking place throughout the agencies that this fund is supporting. Really, the other funding for federal IT really comes from the federal budget. Every year, Congress has to pass the annual budget. We have seen IT spend rising at an average of about 5 to 6% per year, and we're at about $24 billion right now for federal IT spend in the federal budget. I would guess, based just on my knowledge and research and what I do every day, that this should continue to increase. We have a new administration. They will put forth a new budget to Congress, for the 2022 budget. That is already out and proposed, and there is a continued significant increase in IT spend, cloud, cybersecurity. All those things are heavy hitters in the federal budget when it comes to IT. So we just need to watch that moving forward as we approach Congress passing a 2022 budget. So anyway, that's an overview of what I could get on one slide for federal budget numbers, and hope that gives you a few things to think about and some nuggets to walk away with. So Eric, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Brent. So that's actually really important information for me. Operating in the federal business is understanding who's spending, where's the money coming from, what are the initiatives, things like that. And that's where I'm really relying on my partners to help us out, people like Cemex, and say, these are our hunting grounds, etc. Right? I am really excited about what ORock is doing, and excited to tell you guys why we're different, that we're not your traditional hyperscaler. This presentation is definitely very federally focused, but it applies to a huge market, even beyond the federal group, right? Let's talk a little bit about our compliance. So you see all the compliance things there. We're FedRAMP moderate currently today. We are impact level 2 provisional authorization. We're currently FedRAMP high ready. So if you go out to the FedRAMP marketplace, you'll see us there. At the moderate level, you'll see us at ready level. Over on the other side with the impact levels, we are working through sponsorship for your impact level 5s and 4s, but going through DISA. So we're really excited about that. We're excited about what we're doing in the federal space, and that's all based on compliance, right? One of the other things that we have is your predictable costs. So no data egress fees. In the federal government, I don't want to feel like they have the unlimited budget. I used to be a buyer, so understanding what my cost is going to be, so that predictable cost model is really exciting to my customers. They know what they're going to spend, and if you go out and you Google, you can find all kinds of articles where, hey, these egress fees are killing us, our budgets, and what it's doing is, for a lot of my customers, is starting to push them away from the cloud. So then you move into the security, and we're going to get into security pretty deep here in a few minutes. So understanding your total ownership cost, that's really important, right? So next up is the no vendor lock-in. So we operate an open API. So that single API, whenever we get into the details of how we operate as a CSP and a little bit like an ISV as well, you'll understand why that open API is really important. Another one from the DoD that just came out, I think it was last week, is something called Free the Data. It's been around for a while, but it just surfaced again, at least in my inbox from a couple of my DoD reps. And understanding how, if you get into certain vendors, that it's hard to get your information out. Again, if you want to pull it out, you've got those egress fees. But having that single API that you can drop in and use in either the public cloud, the private on-premise, or at the edge, the 3-tier model that we have, that's really important. So, and then the other thing that I think a lot of people overlook, especially in the federal government, is that you can pick up a phone and call us. We have a white glove support model. We have, because of the criticality of the information at the unclassified level, specifically, is if you're dealing with CUI, if you're dealing with NSS, things like that, especially if you're operating in the impact levels and the FedRAMPs, we have a US-based knock and sock, staffed by 100% US citizens. We're 24/365. So you can always call us. And the other really cool thing is on the architectures, you can always call us and we can help you design out what you're trying to do with your customers. If the customers are trying to do something and they go to the traditional hyperscalers, you've got the third parties, it's hard to work with. We're really easy to work with, and we're really trying to simplify the model for you. So that's where your flexibility comes in, and we're really proud of that. So where are we? We have multiple data centers. So your traditional east-west configuration. We meet all of the SLAs. We have all of the everything that you would expect out of a CSP. And we're going to get into a couple of things here in a few minutes. So looking into our compliance and controls, we were talking about FedRAMP a little bit. 325 plus controls at a moderate level. You move that up to the high level, you're 425 plus. The plus means that if you move over into the impact levels, specifically for DoD, we can tailor all of those with you, and we have the inheritance model to share with you. So as you run through this, it's really, really cool. We make it easy for you. Come work with us. The other thing, as we built the ORock from the ground up, it was security in mind. So because of security, we own our own private fiber optic backbone. We have all of your data going into the top of rack. There's never any commingling of data in our data centers. So we have thought about security from the ground up in every step of the way. So as you talk to your customers, and security being, at least in the space that I work in, that's always my number one. And then it gets into more of your determinism, your cost performance, your determinisms, and other things like that. We can always meet performance requirements in the DoD. It's just how you architect for the cloud in this space. So we'll have to talk to you guys more in depth on all of this stuff. So here again, I already talked a little bit about this. It's the U.S. citizens. It's the U.S.-based knock and sock. We'll move on. So the other thing that's really important, and a lot of people start to shy away, but we take care of the complexities here. We are built on OpenStack. We are an open source public cloud. We operate the OpenStack. There's nothing for our customers to go configure, etc. So OpenStack is the most widely deployed open source cloud software in the world. It is where you deploy thousands of services, etc. This is probably the best software you can build an open cloud on, and this is why you're able to free the data. You have no vendor lock-in with us. We take care of all of these complexities, so our customers don't have to worry about that OpenStack complexities, and they really, really like it. So let's see. So whenever I talk about security, and ORock is built from the ground up with security in mind, this starts from the fiber optics. You move up the stack. We do all of these different things that we support: bare metal, virtual machines, containers. What are you looking for? So when I talk to my customers and my partners, how do you architect them? What are you trying to do with the cloud? So cloud technology is the enabling technology for our customers to do something, whether you're talking about AI, ML, whatever it is. Where does the stack need to be? And we can support any flavor just about that our customers are looking for. It's literally, we are the easy, kind of the easy button. We're able to work with you. We're able to help your customers meet the requirements that they're looking for. And we'll get into some of the really cool stuff that we're doing, but this is something that I want you guys to think about as we go through this, is be a little visionary. The reason I came to ORock was from a visionary perspective in virtualization technology and the security that's coming out. What can we do with this stuff, right? So we're about to get into something called Hardened Security. This is an option that we are working with in partnership with Lockheed Martin and Intel. So this is a COTS-based product that Lockheed Martin created. and they are working with Intel to shape the security on the chipsets as it goes to market. This currently only runs on OpenStack, so in order to get something like this, you have to be running on an ORock cloud. We are the only ones that offer this. So this is basically a new type of hypervisor. So if you want to get deep into the security, this is a type 0 hypervisor that ORock is the first to market with. This does not compare to anything else, but we will get into what we can similar or kind of compare it to. If you look at the type 2s, you look at the type 1s, and you look at the operating systems and the things that you have to do. We'd love to sit down and talk to you guys about how we do this and why it really matters from a deterministic performance standpoint and from a security standpoint. And we're going to talk a little bit about the security here for a couple of minutes, but if anyone has any questions, please throw them in the chat. Give us a call. We would love to walk through this with you. So what is the Hardened Security? It's a new way of slicing up server resources. This basically gives you a virtualized bare metal experience, right? This is a completely new way of computing. We are able to dedicate the hardware, utilizing software on the chipset. We are able to provide dedicated hardware in a virtualized environment. So nobody else does this. This is a way to isolate resources instead of just partitioning. We are isolating the cores, the cache, and lots of other things. So this is not a research project. Lockheed Martin deploys this in embedded real-time operating systems today. They had a vision. They went out and worked with Intel, and they made this a COTS product so we don't have to deal with the ITAR and EAR regulations, or at least not as much. And what this does is it takes security to an entirely new level, and an entirely new level in the cloud. So determinism, this is really quality of service. We are able to provide a quality of service that no one else can provide either. It's also tailorable. So what is most important to you and your customer? Work with us, and we can definitely get down to certain requirements. There we go. All right, so at a little more granular level, traditional shared resource technology, whenever you look at the legacies, virtual machine 1, 2, and 3, you're sharing resources. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here in a couple minutes that really get into security type of problems and getting what you're paying for, etc. So over in the left and right side, you should be able to see the differences between the two. This is really exciting technology for us, and to be able to offer this in the cloud, private on-premise infrastructure, or even at the edge. What I like to say is I can deploy this anywhere that technology is deployed. So here's your comparisons. What is it compared to? The reality is you can't compare this to anything else that's on the market on a one-for-one basis. So what are the closest things? Bare metal. What are the issues or things that go along with bare metal? Very high security. You have very high performance, but you also have extremely high cost, and you have low resource utilization. So if you get into the resource utilization, a lot of people forget about, okay, I need to run this application and I need a little bit more than what I can get on that box. I have to buy an entirely new box. And I have to do all the things that go along with it. So while it's really, really good, I did a lot of this in weapon systems and things like that. But if I'm trying to virtualize something and I want to get the virtualization and economies of scale, this is a great way, especially if you're have someone that has really, really sensitive information that they want to protect, but they're looking for a new model or a new way to do things, because bare metal's great, but it's also has its downfalls. Or you can go over to what most of our hypervisors offer, which are dedicated hosts. This is another way, but it's also very expensive. You get the high security, the high cost, and again, you're getting low resource utilization because you're buying all of the services for that box. So right dead in the center, you have ORock Hardened Security. This is where you get the same things, and I'm going to show you a couple of graphs a little later. High security, high resource utilization. You get the lower cost in comparison to bare metal and dedicated hosts, but you get the same bare metal-like performance out of this. So again, you can run that on the edge, on premise, or in the public cloud. And this is where the ORock single API hybrid cloud model really starts to shine, is that with that single API, with the hardened security, you can run this in any one of the three pillars. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more in the security side of the house. And what are we talking about when we're talking the security and virtualization and shared resource technology? You're talking about side channel attacks because you're sharing that cache and cores, right? So this isn't such a big problem whenever you're talking about the lesser sensitive information, people that don't care. If you're looking for general purpose cloud computing, that's great. The problem is you bring it back to a lot of the hacks, a lot of the issues that we've been seeing. Think about Spectre Meltdown, it just resurfaced about a month ago. So you're talking about exploits, right? So now you're in the cloud, and who's protecting for that? Now, not everybody needs this, but if you're talking about that super sensitive information, it is the reason that people are not adopting the cloud. It's reasons that people are not expanding on their cloud practices. So, and then you add the other things like the cost and predictability and things like that. So what we've done is through this partnership with Lockheed Martin and Intel, we provide the chain of trust, verification, and maintenance from the ground up, from BIOS or from boot all the way up the stack at every independent layer. And we're able to host your most critical applications. If you're going to get into real-time operating systems, we have to architect for that, but we can handle those as well. So what are we doing? Because we're truly isolating through both software and hardware, we are able to stop those side channel attacks. I'm going to show a graph here in a second, and we'll explain what some of the issues are with these side channels. So on the left, you see the hardened security enabled workloads. On the right, you see a non-hardened security workload. The problem with the spread on the right is that if you have internal or you have inside threats, you have leakages. One, you're paying for something that you're not getting because you have a noisy neighbor that is impacting your workload. Or in the case of the insider threat or others, it's someone able to steal your data because those are leakages, and that's sophisticated areas that people can steal your information. So, what are we really getting into with the hardened security? It's really getting into the next generation of virtualization technology. Like I said, this is all about security. It's deterministic performance. It's latency, so we can tell you exactly what your latency is going to be for your workloads. And this is about control. So with that quality of service, you get to control the quality of service that you need for your customers. Not all workloads are the same. They all require different resources and have different requirements. So we're able to work with you and tailor things to your needs or to your customers' needs. All right, so again, this is kind of wrapping up. Walk through that pretty quick, but again, you've got the three pillars. You've got the ORock hardened secure, or the ORock cloud, public cloud. You've got the private on-premise clouds in both a connected and a disconnected state. And then you have the edge, also in connected and disconnected states. So whenever you're architecting for the cloud, think about us, think about what you can do, be a little bit visionary, because the virtualization that we're bringing to market, especially with the heightened security posture, really is starting to open doors to people that have never adopted this. So if you're out there looking, I do a lot of shaping of opportunities myself. So really would like to set up some things and start working through these different things that we can do that haven't really been able to be done before. So, right. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
Eric, that was great, man. We again really appreciate this, and you know, the idea, like I said, this is high level. You know, a lot of the technical side, the security side, which we know is so important for the federal customers. But to everybody again, that's either listening now or going to be listening later, we really appreciate the time. There's going to be really specific follow up coming. Like I said, the recording of this, and Eric and the team will be reaching out with maybe some additional documentation, one pagers, things like that. But the real, as Eric mentioned, the real deal is getting together on a call and trying to talk about, okay, here's our opportunity. Here's who we're selling to. Help us make this happen, or help us expand our offering. So really excited about what this can do in the federal space. As Brent mentioned early on, there's a lot of spending around technology from the federal government, and to try to make sure these entities are up to date around security, around cloud, around all those aspects. And so ORock's really one we feel like that can be a big part of that story for us. So once again, just from the Synex side, you know, thank you, Eric, for sharing today. Thank you, Brent, for coming on, and thank you everyone that's listened today or is going to be listening in the future. And again, much follow-up and conversation to be had, and we'll be coming. I would think by the end of the day tomorrow or something, you'll be getting some information from our side. So very exciting. Thank everyone for the time, and we will talk soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.